The Irish slavery debate, guys, as the point of view of an Irishman. Now, where am I? I'm standing on an island off the south coast of Ireland, almost in the Atlantic Ocean, near Cork City. And this island has a particular significance to the slave debate. I'm not here to declare whether the Irish were chattel slaves, or whether they are indentured servants. I'll leave that up to the many, many eminent historians in this field, and I'll bow to their expertise. What I am here to do is this. I'm going to paint you a picture of what life was like in Ireland during the middle part of the 17th century, and to give you a little bit of an explanation as to the conditions that these Irish people would have found themselves in before they were transported to the Caribbean and the Americas. It's the middle of the 17th century, guys. A man named Cromwell has seized power, overthrowing the king in England. Now, Cromwell, guys, was essentially a religious zealot. He believed that God was acting through him personally. He was known amongst the Irish as Cromwell le Shacas, or Cromwell the human, the excrement, essentially. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about Cromwell in a second, guys. In 1649, Cromwell invades Ireland. His stated mission, guys, out of his own words, to murder, banish, and destroy the Irish. This was a mission that he carried out with ruthless efficiency. Contemporary accounts at the time suggest Cromwell murdered around 600,000 Irish people. Those he didn't murder, he rounded up to be sent to the plantations. So guys, let's talk a little bit about the conditions that the Irish people sent to the plantations would have been used to. Now, sugar plantations in particular, guys, are brutal. Hard work in soaring heat. Today, possibly, I'm in a t-shirt, possibly one of the hottest days in the year for Ireland. It is topping about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So guys, most of the time it is, well, we get long winters, cold, wet, rainy. This would be the conditions the Irish would have been used to. They wouldn't have been able to handle the heat. The tropical diseases, guys. Zero immunity whatsoever to any of the tropical diseases that would have been rife in the New World and the Caribbean. So Ireland does have mosquitoes, but they don't carry human communicable diseases. They're not a danger to humans. We have a very small amount in isolated places. In my opinion, I know this is just my opinion, it wouldn't have been Cromwell's intention to send these Irish over to work off their period of indentured servitude and go on and live the American dream or the Caribbean dream and raise their kids in freedom. Quite the opposite, in fact. I think Cromwell had very different intentions for these Irish during the middle of the 17th century. So guys, 3 more points and then I'll wrap up. Okay, now some historians have labelled the Irish sent to the plantations as thieves, pickpockets and murderers. This is quite offensive. What you have to understand is that the Irish at this time were living under a genocidal regime. You're not a thief if you steal corn to feed your starving children. You're not a prostitute if you sell your body to just to survive. And guys, it was summed up in a very famous Irish song, which you will often hear at weddings, called Danny Boy. Now, if you listen to the lyrics at this Irish weddings, if you listen to the lyrics of this particular song, guys, I'm not gonna sing but the lyrics go something like this. Michael, they are taking you away, 'cause you stole Trevelyan's corn. Trevelyan would have been a lord. So the young might see the morn. The prison ship lies waiting by the bay. Now, guys, Michael, a young man, stole corn to feed his starving kids, sent penal transportation. So, guys, when people say the Irish were involved in slavery, I'm not here to dispute that. I'll leave that up to the historians, but something that should be noted. You have to distinguish between the Irish and the Anglo-Irish. The Anglo-Irish were the English lords, the English aristocracy, who were running the country at the time. And they would have considered themselves English by politics, ethnicity, education. Famously, guys, these guys were extremely insulted if you referred to them as Irish. Now, the Anglo-Irish would have had their fingers in many pies. They would have been diamond mining in South Africa in a later period under terrible conditions, human rights abuses. They would have been selling opium to the Chinese later again. And they were also involved very much in the slave trade, guys. So let's distinguish between the Irish and the Anglo-Irish when we talk about the Irish being involved in the slave trade. And I'll leave the general debate up to historians. So guys, my third and final point. It's not my contention that the Irish suffered during this period to the same extent, just suffered with slavery to the same extent that the Africans and people of African ethnicity suffered. This period of history, the middle 17th century, didn't permeate the Irish cultural memory to the same extent that it permeated the cultural memory of the people of African ethnicity. The Irish had their famine. When we think of tragedies, we think of An Gorta Mór, the Great Hunger, the Irish famine, and this was the event that the Irish think of when they think of a huge tragedy. Most ethnicities and most populations have at least one cultural event in their history that they point to and they say never again. For the Irish guys, it was the famine. I'm outside the courthouse on Washington Street in Cork City. Washington Street named after George Washington, the first American president. This courthouse is on the Frederick Douglass Trail in Cork. Frederick Douglass, the great orator, the human rights campaigner, the ex-slave and anti-slavery campaigner, visited Cork at the start of the Great Famine, 1845. And I'll leave you, he spoke these words, guys, to a large audience in Cork City, to rapturous applause. He was greeted extremely well by Cork citizens. So, Frederick Douglass said this: "If we search the words of inspired wisdom, we shall find that the strong are to bear the infirmities of the weak, teaching the wise the duty of instructing the ignorant, and if we consult the better feelings of humanity, we find all hearts on the side of the weak, the feeble, the distressed, and the outraged." So guys, yeah, that's I think that those words are as true today as they are back when Douglas spoke them in 1845. Okay guys, my name is Dara, this is the Rebel City Tour, and I hope you enjoyed my short video on the Irish slave question. Remember to share, comment, like, and have a great day. Thank you.